Hello, it's Alex, the Bookubus. Today I wanted to wrap up my Reading and Rumps Richard Laymon themed readathon. This was a wonderful idea from Regina at Regina's Haunted Library to pick up some Richard Laymon books in the month of June. And we were joined by Kelsey at Slime and Slashers, Lydia at Typical Books, author D.L. Tillery, and Merce at Harpies in the Trees. And yeah, I think we all dove into some Richard Laymon books this month, and hopefully we all had a good time. If you aren't familiar with Richard Laymon, he is definitely the more pulpy, trashy, sleazy end of horror, which isn't everyone's cup of tea, but I have enjoyed a few of his books already, so I was happy for an opportunity to pick up some more. And he does love rumps. The word rump will come up during his books multiple times, and I did keep track of the rumps that came up in the books I read this month. I will say, to his credit, he is an equal opportunity rump lover. It's not just lady rumps that he is focused on. So rumps galore, basically. Anyway, which books did I read? I picked up two. I read Darkness Tell Us and I read After Midnight. So yeah, these were the two books I picked up this month. I enjoyed them both. I will say, out of the two, Darkness Tell Us was my favourite. Darkness Tell Us was the one I read first this month, and it was originally published in 1991. And this is about a group of college students who are having a party with their professor. You know, she's the cool professor. And at some point, someone busts out a Ouija board, and there are mixed feelings in the group. A couple of them are very gung-ho about it. A couple of them are very, very against it. And a couple of them are kind of hesitant, but end up getting involved anyway. And it seems that they contact a spirit or something through the board, and it tells them that if they go to these specific mountains, they will find some treasure, and this spirit is going to tell them exactly where it is. So the students, of course, are very excited about this idea, but the professor is very against it. So the students pretend to say that they're not going to do anything about it, but instead they sneak off and drive off to the mountains, taking the Ouija board with them so they can, contact this spirit again and hopefully track down the treasure. This one was a wild time and it was brilliant. I loved it. 4 stars. I would definitely recommend it if you're looking for a Laymon to pick up. So this one does start off with quite a lot of characters, so it did take a minute to get a handle on who everyone was, but after that it was easy to keep track of everyone, and the story does jump around through different characters. So yeah, I thought that worked pretty well. It was very well paced, it was definitely a page turner, and some crazy shit happens. I don't know, what more do you want, really? It does have some sleazy moments, it has some sex scenes, it has some problematic situations, it has some dark elements, including like an abusive situation. I don't want to say too much more about the plot on this one because I didn't know what was going to happen going into it, and I think if you were going to pick this up, you should get that surprise too. So I won't say any more specifically, but yeah, wacky stuff happens and it has an absolutely crazy ending. So this one was a really fun time. It was exactly what I wanted from a Richard Laymon book, and it was great. I will say, in amongst the sleaze, it does have some strong female characters. I think he gets, a bad reputation for just being like a pervy 12-year-old boy. But in my experience, at least in the books that I have read, he does seem to flesh out his female characters pretty well. And yeah, there were a couple in here that, go through some stuff and, come out the other side. So yeah, anyway, 4 stars, would definitely recommend it. Next up, I read After Midnight, and this one came out in 1997, so a few years later. And this one is about a woman called Alice, although she tells us that that is not her real name, and basically she is recounting the story to the reader as though she is writing it all down. And I thought, you know, that was okay, but it was kind of annoying at times as well, and felt a little forced. Anyway, she rents a room in a place that her friend and her family own, and they are very wealthy, and they have this giant place that's fairly remote, big swimming pool, etc. And yeah, she rents a room above the garage. And anyway, her friend and family go away, so she is home alone, and she's allowed to use the rest of the house and the pool and everything while she is home alone. And this first night, a stranger rocks up and goes in the swimming pool naked. There have been stories recently in the local area that some people have been found murdered in these local woods, which are basically at the back of this property. So she's pretty scared and is trying to figure out what to do, and yeah, is hoping that this guy doesn't want to go any further than just swimming in the pool. But of course, he's not just there for some late night skinny dipping. And it says on the back of the book that, yeah, she remembers about the old Civil War sabre hanging in the living room. So my idea of this book, I thought it was just going to be based in this house, and it was just going to be kind of a home invasion, cat and mouse situation. But that's only the start of the story, and it goes to like many other places that I was not anticipating. So this is another wild one. It was a fairly fun read. I think it is a bit overly long, and it does feel a little boring in places because some of the detail he goes into is fairly unnecessary. But the story itself was a pretty fun read. And again, I don't want to say too much more about the plot because, you know, you should be surprised by all of these crazy developments as I was. But yeah, the setup of the story is really only the tip of the iceberg. And once again, lots of crazy shit happens. There's plenty of nudity and violence and just absolutely wacky situations that would never happen in real life. So yeah, another fun time. I think this one, Alice is a strong character, but she's definitely very male gazy. And even though she is a badass, I just didn't really have as much of a connection with her as I have some of his other female characters. If she was written in a bit more of a believable fashion and I connected with her a little more, then I would have rooted for her and her story more. But because I didn't, there was always a bit of a distance there. So I didn't get as invested in the story as I could have, but it was still a fun ride. And yeah, like I said, lots of crazy stuff happens. So this one I gave 3.5 stars. It was still a fun time. And yeah, again, a crazy ending. So would recommend it still, even though it wasn't my favourite. More importantly, how many rumps were in these books? I did keep track as I was reading, so hopefully I got accurate numbers. But yeah, Darkness Tellers had 25 rumps, starting off strong. This was in a 392 page book, so that's pretty much 1 rump every 15 pages on average. And then After Midnight, this had only 10 rumps. Slightly disappointing after the rump fest that was Darkness Tellers. Plus this was longer, it was 438 pages. So that's only 1 rump every 43 pages or so on average. So Darkness Tellers was definitely my favourite of the two anyway, plus it had the most rumps out of the two. Don't know if there's a correlation there or not. I think more research has to be done. I had read a few Richard Laymon books previously, but I was not keeping track of the rumps at that point. But next time I will definitely keep track. But yeah, this has been a fun time. I'm glad I jumped on the opportunity to pick up some more Laymon. He is a good time. He's just not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I certainly had fun with these. If you joined in with reading and rumps, I would love to hear about which books you read and if you enjoyed them and how many rumps were in there. And also thank you to Regina for coming up with this idea and making it happen. Maybe it can become an annual thing. If so, I'll pencil it in for next June. Anyway, that's it for now. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I will see you again in my next video. Bye!